First day.
Hey, welcome everybody. It
It was
is the Star Wars month, as we all know it to be. Welcome to Rebels Revisited. We got the crew back together.
first day. It's
And
it's
yeah,
quite the crew.
yeah. So we have a special guest with us again this week. Not only do we have Dave producing in for Jeff, but we have Jamie with us. Hi,
Yay, I'm
Jamie.
back. It's like y'all fed me once and now you can't get rid of me.
That's right. You live on our porch.
Like a stray lost cat. Here I am.
We gave you a mail run and you won't leave.
That's the way it all starts. As we all know, it's how it starts.
This is what happens. We ask you to do something, and then you become voluntold.
I love it.
My favorite word ever. And before you know it, it just keeps rolling. Well, thank you for joining us again, and thank you for covering for me last week. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Jamie is part of the Rebels Revisited family, and we figured as we were going to celebrate almost a year of our show, but really what I think of as like the New Year's of Star Wars, May the 4th, like thinking back on the year that has been and talk about what we're excited about in the year to come. It made sense to get the three of us together to talk to everyone here on the Facebooks and on the YouTubes. So yeah, this will be fun.
And we have a lot to talk about because it's been a hell of a year, especially if you're a Star Wars fan.
It's been wild, right? Like,
and the hits keep coming. The hits just keep coming. Like, just when you think you're like, all right, there's nothing else. Surprise! There's always something else. Always.
Yeah, there's no stopping the slate, even though the slate is not as crazy and not as fast moving as it was, say, 3 years ago, when they were just like, we have an idea, we have an idea, we have an idea. And then a lot of those just didn't happen. I feel like what they've announced at Celebration 2023 seems really intentional. It seems like it's actually going to happen.
A lot more focused.
Yeah. And there's stuff really happening. Like we just finished a couple TV shows and more on the way, and they claim that they're going to air these shows. Like, and we've seen footage. There's kind of evidence that things are happening. It's not the Lando show that's never going to happen. I keep using that as an example.
I'm still holding out hope.
The reason I keep going back to that one is that it was so obvious it wasn't going to happen because they asked Donald Faison, not they, like someone else, who's not Disney, asked Donald Faison, "Oh, we're like, are you excited about the Lando show?" And he's like, "Oh, I'm not in that." Like, then how are you making it? Like, what are you doing here? It was like very that where I was like, oh, everything's a lie. So, but that doesn't seem to be the case of Star Wars 2022, 2023, and 2024, from what I can tell.
Definitely. Yeah. There's a lot more purpose. There's a lot more connectivity. There's a lot more creativity from the looks of things. Like I'm looking at the trailer for Vision Season 2. We have stop motion animation, like stuff we've never seen before in Star Wars. That's huge. And
Wallace and Gromit learn about the Jedi. Yeah.
Seriously, it's so freaking cool. And I am very excited for that because I have friends in the stop motion animation industry. And it's just so cool to see it getting some love on a grand scale like this.
That's
on top of
most
Guillermo del Toro and Henry Selick with The Nightmare Before Christmas and Pinocchio. But yeah, this is going to be fun. I'm excited.
Yeah, that's for sure the episode I'm most excited for. I can't wait.
I was going to say, that's the thing that's coming most soon. Like,
that's May the 4th. That's Thursday.
Yeah, that's Thursday.
And Young Jedi Adventures. We can't forget that. As a parent, I'm a toddler. I am
for the Padawans.
I am so ready to sit my kid down in front of Disney Plus and show her that.
Yay.
Hope she loves it.
Oh,
otherwise,
I know she
it's really
will.
awkward. Mom's more into it than my kid.
There's a couple of them up already, I think. Like there was an intro of like Meet the Kids. It seemed cute. It looks like they have a friend who's not a Jedi. There's a woman a girl who's a pilot. And there's 3 Jedi youngling from what I can tell. 1 human and 2 alien types, including one that's Wookiee-esque but blue. I don't you can tell I know nothing.
No, it's okay. I'm terrible with names already, but like I think he's sort of primed to sort of like be like the main character from what I've kind of gleaned from the show and the marketing. Cool. It sort of feels like he's the one that they're using as like, I hate to say it like this, but it's Star Wars, their merch bait, where he's gonna end up being on like all the merch.
That makes a lot of sense.
Super cute.
Yeah, the cutesy characters. I'm excited.
I'm into that. That'll be fun.
It's just nice sometimes to have something that's like fun and sort of like carefree, especially because like so much of what we've seen this year for Star Wars has been kind of gritty and dark. If you think about like Andor and The Mandalorian, so having something that's just lighthearted and fun, especially like focused for kids, I'm really all about that.
I told
Yeah.
my brother about it because my 4-year-old niece and my 1-year-old niece are of that age where they like, Bluey and TV shows like that. And my brother's like, why? We all know what happens to the younglings. I was like,
Oh.
that's so rude.
Not all of them. Not all, some of them escape.
Listen. Some of them have made it.
Grogu
More by the
lives.
looks of it.
That's the thing. Like we
Yeah.
keep finding as we unravel Order 66, which I think is a talking point about this year, how many people have survived. Like obviously we know Cal Kestis from Jedi Fallen Order. He's back in Survivor, which that's another news beat happening like right now. But there seems to be Keller and Best survived, right? Or at least it seems like he survived long enough to get Grogu out of there. I don't know how long he made it after that, but there are dozens of Jedi potentially sort
Caleb
of out
Doom.
there. Caleb Doom. Yep. Is Seer Jenda, right? Seer, who's Cal Kestis's master. So there's a lot of they're all like comic characters and video game characters. And because they haven't been prominent in a movie, everyone really thought that like Obi-Wan Kenobi was The Last Jedi before that was the name of a movie. And then it was like, okay, and then here comes Luke. And that was kind of it. And I was like, oh no, man, there are hundreds. And in fact, this takes us back to the beginning of, if we go chronologically, May 22 to April 23, Obi-Wan Kenobi was the first thing. In one of the opening scenes, they had like, by the way, going back to what you're saying, dark, a Jedi was found and hanged by an Inquisitor early on in the series, and Obi-Wan Kenobi did nothing. He did nothing about that. If anything, he helped that happen. Like that's how we started our Star Wars year, kind of, right? Like it was in that place. It was bleak. Yeah.
It's going to be interesting too, especially like you talked about announcements and things that are coming, right? And we're talking way down the timeline now, but I mean, hello, Rey is going to resurrect the Jedi Order, or hyper focused training on the Jedi Order. So yeah, it absolutely does beget the question, how many more are out there if she's going to be rebuilding the Jedi Order? She has to have some people to work with, right? And we know that Ezra is still out there, and of course he's a Jedi, and it's going to be, and Jason, right? We're
Jason
sort of
Syndulla.
playing or assuming that Jason Syndulla is going to have some Force sensitivity. So yeah, there's plenty of opportunity for other Jedi to come forward, and in a safe time for them. Grogu, of course, cutest little 50-year-old green bean. He's so cute.
Dave O'Neill is reminding us of Broom Boy. Which
Broom Boy
speaks to the larger situation that at any given moment, anyone being born, whether it's 1 in a million or 1 in a billion, like there are new Jedi popping up every minute. So however many of them aged up another 15 years after the fall of the First Order to be old enough to be trained by Rey. I don't know if she's going to start with kids or if she's going to do the preteen thing. Luke seemed to have a mix of ages. Obviously, Ben was like quite old compared to like the younglings we saw in the temple in the prequel days. But you could imagine a school that goes from like age 0 to age 20. And you sort of figure that stuff out. The Jedi were also all over the board in terms of ages. They just usually captured you as a child, as like a baby. But like, I don't know how she's going to rebuild it. It brings up a good question as to like what comes next. Like, does she try to rebuild the Jedi Order the way it was in the prequels, or the way that Luke was trying to do it, or do you take a whole new approach? Like,
I think she'll take a new approach.
I think she has to, right? Because think about the lessons that we learned with training a Jedi too old, like Anakin, right? I mean, huge issue right there.
Yeah.
And some of the issues that we saw even with Ben, if Ben was older joining the Jedi Order and going through that training, of course he kind of came to Luke with baggage that I think ultimately blocked him, right? So Rey has to take a different approach if this is going to work, if she's going to be working with him.
And she also has the sacred Jedi text, and you see that gray Jedi symbol on it. So
remember, page turners they were not. So
so it's like rewriting a textbook to make it a little more like
up at the times,
a little more current and not as dated as it was,
you probably have to pick and choose, because also if we consider, I know the Lego things aren't canon, but if that continuity has to not be contradictory, I think is the way they kind of go with it. She's training Finn in the ways of the Force, and she only learned about the Force when she was a fully grown adult, right? Like, she's a grown-ass woman, and now she's going to be 15 years older than that. So even if she was 20, which Princess Leia was 20, Luke and Leia were both 19, 20 when A New Hope happened, right? So let's say 19. She's 20. She's now going to be 35. That's a big difference in terms of like experience, because she was only a new adult and now she's been adulting as long as she was a child, right? So
Yeah.
I feel like she'd be super qualified and have 15 years of force experience at that point, if not more. And training Finn would be fully capable of training these kids. Ezra would be a grandmaster. He'd be like the Mac Daddy of the Jedi, other than maybe Grogu, if Grogu can start remembering things. And if Cal Kestis is somehow still alive, he's top of the pecking order, right?
Oh my
Yeah,
god.
seriously.
Can you imagine the
Oh my
absolute
God.
uproar if Cal
Yeah.
Kestis ends up coming into this thing? 'Cause,
Yeah,
like
I
we
would
haven't
lose my
seen
mind.
we haven't seen him enter any sort of media outside of the video games, really, right? He
Yeah.
doesn't appear in any comics, I don't think. So it's
There's
just a video
one
games.
comic that's tied to Survivor that I think
Okay.
he's a part of, but it was like a build up to the game. So even that is
Right.
like so
Yeah, so
close
it's the
in.
game.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
I
So
would
that's
love, yeah.
wild. Totally wild if he shows up.
I will. So this goes. So we're all over the place, guys. But I swear we're going to get back to chronological order in a second. But the Mando
What's it
movie that Dave is doing, right? Like that Mando time frame movie. If Cal is still alive, like you could imagine him joining this Avengers style team up, because it's seemingly more and more like an Avengers movie, right? If we're thinking
Yes.
the Mando movie that Dave is working on is supposed to connect Ahsoka, Mando, what would have been the Rangers of the New Republic, which is now Skeleton Crew, it seems like whatever that is. Like it's starting to feel a little bit like Star Wars Avengers, so much so that some of the big like YouTubers have started referring to it as such. And in a way, and they started giving you the lineup, and it was like, imagine Ahsoka, Din Djarin, Grogu, Lady Bo-Katan, maybe some of her team, and whatever other people pop up and like fight Thrawn or whoever it's going to be. It's going to feel very Avengers-y for Star Wars. And I was like, okay, I could do that. That could be fun.
I could if it's handled the right way. So my concern with things like this always sort of roots back to like, how long are they going to prolong something like this, right? Like if that movie has enough of a punch where it really ties together and solves all of these storylines, I would just hope that it doesn't drag things on just for the sake of dragging things on. That's my only concern with that. I just don't want to see a story start to be compromised for the sake of prolonging a movie series or prolonging an animated series. That's my only concern.
Stick with the story, the rest will fall into place.
Yeah.
I don't want it to be rushed by shareholders or directors who want to make deals to push their stories through and not have it be coherent. I just want the story to be good.
Hard
I agree with that.
They
Yeah,
deserve that.
same. With that, I think that gives us actually a good starting point to go back to the beginning, May 2022, and talk about things that might have been rushed. Obi-Wan Kenobi, special effects, some storylines that seem to. So, and by the way, I liked Obi-Wan. I didn't love Obi-Wan. I think, Ashley, you loved Obi-Wan.
I did.
I think we had a great Star Wars year, and I think since you loved Obi-Wan, you should take it away. Tell us what you loved about Obi-Wan to kick us off.
I loved the fact that they got down to the aftermath of what happened with Anakin and Padme and his new mission to protect Luke. And you just see this man who's like always upheld the highest of beliefs in the Jedi Order, and he's just broken. He's crumbled. He lost his best friend. These poor children are scattered throughout the universe to protect them. And he's become kind of an outcast, and he sees how terribly Jedi are being treated, and he can't do anything to stop it because he's got a greater mission to save the Jedi at hand. He just, and it's again, it's so hard, and it just gets the difficulty of Obi-Wan and his plight with both the Jedi Order and protecting Luke, and also protecting Leia, like shocking enough. That whole storyline with Leia
that was a surprise.
Absolutely.
A total surprise. I agree with you guys. But it was one of my favorite parts of Star Wars. It really was. Once you get past the whole running from Flea and the other Red Hot Chili Peppers, you're totally fine. But I think it really captured the guilt and the redemption of Obi-Wan really well. And
he was in a bleak, dark place,
yeah,
which is where we needed him to be. And by the end of it, he sort of came out of it. So there's a full story arc. And I was worried that they would have no arc for him. I was worried that like Obi-Wan Kenobi is going to start somewhere and end somewhere. And what the hell is going to happen in the show? And it turns out I couldn't have been more wrong, let me tell you. Which, by the way, that's the theme actually of Star Wars 2022 into 2023 is
Mark
like
was
makes
wrong.
a prediction and it's incorrect. So I'm the opposite of the Vegas odds. So whatever I think is going to happen, bet against it, and
Probably
you will
won't.
bank. You will
Yeah.
bank. I promise you.
Yeah. But also, like, unexpectedly, this ties into the Bad Batch because we see how clone troopers have gone from keeping order and keeping peace throughout the galaxy to being homeless and neglected by the governing body, both like the shambled Senate and the Empire. They're just cast aside. So it ties in that really well. The only thing I didn't really love was Reva's plight. I thought she deserved better.
Yeah.
I don't think she should have gone through Obi-Wan to get to Anakin when Darth Vader when he was right there the whole time. But yeah, that part kind of bugged me, and I think Moses Ingram deserved a little bit better of a storyline for that.
Yeah.
It was interesting seeing the Inquisitors, though. Like,
that was
seeing
really cool.
more about the Inquisitors and kind of that pecking order of the Inquisitors, right? They were pretty awful.
We got like a little tease of what's in the comic and how like they're always in competition to be like second best to Vader, but they even find themselves kind of at odds with Vader in terms of like what they do with their jobs and hunting Jedi and stuff like that. So it's a matter of who gets to be first in line and the competitions between all of them. That was really kind of fascinating. It was really cool to see some familiar faces as rebels. Indira Varma from Game of Thrones. She was quite awesome.
She was terrific
as Tala. We also had oh god, I'm blanking on his name. I'm so terrible. Ice Cube's son. Come on, what's his name?
Odom Jr. No.
No.
I know who you're talking about. I should have pulled up the IMDb for all these things. While we're working on his name, let's talk about Aunt Beru.
Yes.
And how like she stole the show.
Aunt
in, like,
Badass is more like it.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Team Beru crew over here. We became part of the Beru crew in a big way because of this show.
But we can't mention Beru without talking about snarky Uncle Lars.
Yes.
The meme
like the way
of
you
the
protected
year.
him. Oh my god, that meme was everywhere. And then between him and then Aunt Beru with the shotgun, my favorite was like, okay, in a matchup, Darth Vader versus Aunt Beru, it used to be not a question, and now it's like, well, how much prep time does she get? Like, it's the kind of thing where like that's how you rework Star Wars, right?
Yes.
You get us to ask interesting and stupid questions all the time, right? The fact that Aunt Beru and Uncle Owen like actually fended off an Inquisitor because they were like relatively smart and they knew that this attack was going to happen. Like they knew how to protect Luke, even from an Inquisitor. Like that's wild to me. So like I loved that actually. I thought that was really well done. I think Beru and Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru are like the unsung heroes of like the original trilogy and the prequels. There was also another meme. I'm sorry to keep coming back to memes.
O'Shea Jackson Jr. is his name.
O'Shea, I'm looking at O'Shea Jackson Jr. So you wanted.
I had an O in there. But so there was a meme where it showed a picture of like in A New Hope when like the house is fully destroyed and there's flames everywhere and you've seen like the charred skeletons and it's like and then it shows Luke leaving and then there's Aunt Beru and Uncle Owen peering out from the side being like, okay, we fooled him, like because they had clearly killed other stormtroopers. Now let's get out of here, and then they're gonna go rescue people across the galaxy, and it was gonna be the Beru crew, like the A team, like going from like place to place. And I was like, I love that. I love that headcanon that they could have
put on a t-shirt.
Yeah, and
I really want that.
Ended up with Obi-Wan, so I was like, okay, mission accomplished, and now they're on to their next series of things.
Like knowing what I know about the Larses right now and what we've seen in Obi-Wan, those are stormtroopers. Like nobody messes with the Larses. Like they came to play. Yeah. So yeah.
But the flip side of that, if we're going to talk about Guardians and protecting both Luke and Leia the way that they protected those children, can we talk about how great it was to see Jimmy Smits as Bail Organa again?
Yes,
I love Bail Organa. I have a soft spot in my heart in every piece of media that Bail Organa shows up in. I'm just like, I love this man. I love what he stands for.
And Breha.
I
Philmar
love
as well, like
them.
playing Bale like in Rebels and in Clone Wars, terrific. They both bring that character to life in an awesome way. And yes, Brea, the woman who plays Brea is actually one of the lead actresses in Yellow Jackets. And by the way,
Oh, no way.
ladies and gays, because I don't know how many straight men are going to love this show. Yellow Jackets is a fucking fever dream. I don't know how to describe this show. Like, it is a high school soccer team has a plane crash and ends up in the Canadian wilderness for 19 months. And so insanity ensues. And so, but they flash back to like that time period in the 90s and then present day 2023 with these ladies all grown up. And so Melanie
wow.
Linsky is the lead. And then Christina Ricci's in it and Juliette Lewis. But like the show's amazing. And I got to tell you, the woman who plays Brea Organa plays one of the surviving women of like the kids who are in the crash. And it is bonkers. We could turn this into a Yellow Jackets podcast tomorrow if anyone's interested. It's so good.
Yeah.
But when I saw her on screen, I was like, I'm looking at her and I was like, who is this strikingly gorgeous, strange woman? Why do I know her? And I was like, it's Brea Organa. I like lost my mind. So this is what happens when you're
just
a
like
Star
that.
Wars super fan. Yeah.
Yeah.
One more note
always.
on Kenobi before I forget, because we want to make sure we hit all of the beats. The connectivity to Rebels was wild. And this was right when Ashley and I started the show. So we couldn't have picked a better timing because we saw the Grand Inquisitor in live action, the Fifth Brother in live action, and we got that fight at the end where Vader loses half his mask, where they basically stole Rebels and they're like, oh, copy the homework, but don't make it look too similar. Okay, we'll do the left side instead of the right side. Like it was very that where like Vader lost half his helmet. And it's like, where's Matt Lanter's voice at this point to like bring it home? But like they're copying Rebels, and they're saying that from May of 2022, they're telling you right now, Rebels is important.
But see, this goes back to exactly what we were talking about right before the show, right? And there's this listicle going around saying you only have to watch 4 episodes of Rebels to make Ahsoka work.
No,
I am begging you, and this is probably like preaching to the choir, knowing the audience is here to watch a show called Star Wars Rebels Revisited. But like,
but if you're just joining us,
but if you're just joining us or you're new here, please, it's only 4 seasons, and exactly what you said, Mark. It's literally like copy the homework but make it look different.
Yeah,
it's so many callbacks, and all of this new Star Wars media are coming directly from those 4 seasons of Rebels, and we love to see it. But there's also a little part of me that's like, now give them the credit. Give them the credit. Give them the credit.
I want to elevate I'm glad they brought Lars in to do Thrawn, even though I didn't think they would. I'm glad that Steve got to do the voice in Mando, even though he was the
and
one
the
on
motion
my list.
capture.
Yeah, he was last on my list. Like I said, I was like, there's no way Zeb's coming into anything. I was like, you can just cross him off the list. Again, always vote against me. But like that's the kind of stuff where it's like I want to see everyone get their roses, because I don't think that we've properly acknowledged Vanessa Marshall, Tia Sircar, Taylor Gray, Freddie Prinze Jr., everyone who's contributed, Jason
Steve
Isaacs.
Bloom.
Yeah, Steve
Mary
Bloom.
Elizabeth McGlynn.
Yeah, Mary. Like there's the list goes on and on. David Oyelowo, who we'll never see in live action cast as his character because he doesn't look anything like him. So that's the kind of thing where it's like you'd have to recast for Callus. And I get it's like it's icky.
Unless they make Callus black, which would be awesome. I would be totally on board for that.
I think they could get away with certain characters doing like some type of swap, like racial or gender or alien species or anything like that. But the way they're doing it now is what it seems is that they're trying to keep like continuity between.
Right.
So I don't see it happening.
Okay.
But bring him into something else. Like David Oyelowo is an Academy Award either nominated or leading actor. Put him in anything. Make him the big bad somewhere. Like make him an Imperial bad guy. Like bring him in.
I want to see him as a Jedi Master.
Oh, I like that too.
Yeah, because he's already done the Imperial route. Let's just make him a Jedi Master. I would totally be on board for that.
Put him in everything. Assuming he still has some type of contract or relationship with Disney. That's the question, right? Yeah. Like he joined in was that 2014? We're talking 10 years ago. Jensen Ackles as Hot Callus. Okay. All right.
Okay.
All right. We need someone British.
Kind of got the beard.
We need someone British for the accent.
Yeah. But everybody can have a proper British accent.
So many American actors can do that. Like,
and Jensen's got the mutton chops when he's playing Soldier Boy. Yeah. So
that's true. All right, I'm open to suggestions. Send in pictures of the hot men that we should be following. Send along.
Send them all.
All right. So with that in mind, I think Obi-Wan was a great intro start to the year. Oh wow. Like truly signaling, like sending a signal out to the universe that Rebels is going to matter, and it continued in a big way in Andor. We actually did a program when we were watching all the Inquisitor related stuff in Rebels when Obi-Wan was on air, and then when Andor, like we had a whole program that led up to Andor where it was all Mon Mothma focused and everything related to the building of the rebellion, and then it connected even more than I expected in Andor. I thought Andor was that's my current take for Project of the Year is Andor.
Absolutely. I think many people will agree with you. The slow build to just all out awesome was like fantastic. We had the return of Mon Mothma. We saw the rebellion in its early stages with places we never thought we would go. And characters that we only saw just before they died coming back into play. Like
it's wild too, because what I love so much about Andor is it didn't back away from the absolute like desperation that so many of these characters had. I think sometimes when we see some of these, you know, I'm not saying every project is lighthearted, but like, right, there are definitely like lighthearted moments in Star Wars that we all love to joke about and laugh about, and it's fun, it's whatever. But we have to remember that this is literally a galaxy at war, and war brings out the absolute best in people in some cases, but the absolute worst in some people in a lot of other cases. And what I loved about Andor is that we absolutely did not shy away from, you know, the games that Mon Mothma was playing to keep the rebellion secretly afloat, right? We didn't back away from the fact that Cassian
money
Andor,
laundering,
selling out her husband.
yeah.
we F that guy.
Yeah, he kind of sucked, so he had it coming.
Fight that guy.
But like even Cassian as a character, like Cassian Andor is not a great dude. He's definitely in it for himself, and he definitely has a lot of character flaws. And I love
a lot of people money. Yeah,
he owes a lot of people money. But we love that. You know, I need to see that in characters. The other thing that I love so much about Andor, and this is going to sound very twisted, but like I felt like Andor. I'm going to take it back a second because Rogue One holds a very special place in my heart. But do you remember seeing Rogue One in theaters? And this isn't a spoiler because the movie's been out for so long, but the end of Rogue One when Vader shows up, do you remember how afraid of Darth Vader you felt in that moment?
Yeah.
Like for the first time.
It felt like a different Vader.
Vader feels scary.
Dave Filoni directed that.
He felt like a totally different Vader. But then coming back to Andor gave us a scene that actually made me deeply afraid of the Empire for the first time in a long time. And it was that torture scene with the audio.
The headphones. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
I thought to myself, I'm like, wow, we are really in a different Star Wars right now. This is a different Star War.
Yeah. I have a similar experience to that. That thought of like the headphones and the torture. There's a scene at the round table when all of the white shirts are in there and they've got literally their PowerPoint about how they're going to kill this person, push the ship. It was all very clinical and cold and just like it's the monotony of evil and how like dull and terrible it is while they strip away your rights. That sitting around in a conference room felt very much like an evil government, like which they are, right? They're an evil government, but like truly a bad government. Like, and you watch them writing legislation as to why you can no longer vote. Like it's that kind of thing happening. And I was like, that feels so real, especially when we're talking back in August, like in this country, like just everything was right after all the Supreme Court stuff had happened. Like I remember screaming about that. Like it felt very close to home in the same sort of way where I was like, who's writing this? Are they writing from the future? Like this is concerning. So
Andor, I agree. I think Andor was the first show, maybe not necessarily movie, but like the first show in Star Wars where I really felt like there's more to than the fiction that we're seeing here. It did feel like what you're saying, Mark, like it was touching on really relevant social issues in a very big, dark, scary way. I loved Andor. Andor is I love it. I want it to sweep the awards. I want it to perform well. I can't wait for season 2, taking us right up to Rogue One. I
want 5 more seasons.
5 more seasons.
Stretch it out. More.
Please.
There's one more thing about Andor I wanted to hit before we go. Aside from the fact that I'm obsessed with Genevieve O'Reilly as Mon Mothma, we all know this.
Oh, good.
Deirdre Miro, who they give you the cognitive dissonance, which is it's a phrase I use all the time in Star Wars. It's how I explain the prequels, because you're rooting for the bad guys the whole time without realizing it, and they trick you, right? They do it with Deirdre Miro as well. They make her very sympathetic because she's like this woman who's being oppressed and she's not getting her way, even though she's the smartest person in the room. And then you kind of root for her, and then you realize like, oh my God, she's on the other side. And when she gets her way, it's horrifying. She's terrifying. And like the only thing that like was preventing her from exacting like her evil power onto others is that other people were stopping her who were also just as bad or worse than her. And I was like, oh my God, how did I root for this woman for like even a hot second, right? And then same thing with Kyle Solar as Cyril. Like he thinks he's doing the right thing, but he's also doing the wrong thing all the time. Like it's the same thing where all these people go down all these terrible paths, sometimes Cassian Andor included. Like,
and when he rescues her, when Cyril rescues Deidre, like honestly, like at first you're like, yay, he saved her from being killed. And then you're like, oh my God, why am I rooting for these two?
Yeah. I mean, they sort of deserve each other in the worst possible way, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Cyril's a character. I'll be very curious to see if we see him come back in season 2. I have to share this with you because anytime somebody mentions Cyril in Andor, my brain goes to Gabe from The Office. So he started calling him Space Gabe. I don't know if you ever watched The Office, but he looks so much like the guy that played Gabe in The Office.
Wait,
so,
which one's Gabe? Was he in the later seasons?
He was in the later seasons.
Okay.
I can't remember the actor's name now, but he was like the tall, sort of gangly, like HR guy that comes into corporate that like everybody,
Toby, I guess. Yeah.
Everybody kind of hates. And he's sitting there
that
eating
tracks.
Space cereal, and I'm like, oh, he's like Space
Backwoods. But yeah, he does kind of look like Cyril.
I know. Yep. That's right on. Oh my God, that's perfect. One last thing about Andor, and I think this is going to be the lasting legacy of the show, at least it seemed this way based on Celebration 2023, is One Way Out, which I thought was such a beautiful rallying cry, and Andy Serkis almost got his redemption moment. This year's been a lot about redemptions, like Andy Serkis, Ahmed Best, like The Bad Batch, like a whole bunch of people got redemptions this year, and not people who needed to be redeemed, but like the fandom is appreciating them, even though they should have originally. I thought Andy Serkis was amazing in that role as Kino Loy, and the heartbreak of him not being able to swim.
Now,
but like,
the thing, sorry to interrupt, but the thing that bugged me about Andy Serkis, and I adore that man. He is a legend in cinema, and everything he touches is gold. However, we're so accustomed to him being Gollum and Snoke that I really thought he was going to rat them out and turn them in and get them all like killed, and Andor would have to escape. That's where I thought it was going to go. So when he finally got to the end and they were all jumping off, it was like, oh my God, like he wasn't like that. And I just felt like horrible about it because I'm like, oh my God, I doubted you, Andy. I'm so sorry.
They say he'll be back.
Yeah.
So
he has a chance.
No body.
Loaded away somewhere.
or he's still on that prison, because think about it, if he didn't jump, they would have recaptured him probably, right? So also the other thing, and I think I said this on another show, One Way Out in the show meant up, but it really means together. Like that's really what One Way Out was all about. And it was about like, there's only one way out of this, and we have to do it now, and we have to do it together. Like it just happened to be physically that they were going up. And that felt like Celebration 2023. In fact, like Spencer and everyone who was at Cantina 2 will tell you, people broke out into One Way Out chants all weekend at random times in inappropriate places. And by inappropriate, meaning like no context, like truly non sequiturs, like on the dance floor, chanting One Way Out in between like song lyrics. Like people like lost their mind for One Way Out because it was this like weird togetherness. Like it's interesting to see like grown men get emotional and not know how to express that. And like it came through in this phrase a lot that weekend. And it felt very much like together. Like we're all here together. We never see each other. This is a once a year thing. We might not see each other for another couple of years. Like that show really did something. And I think it spoke to a lot of people. And that moment for sure. And the running of the prisoners, incredible. Like it's the new ice cream run. So I'm very excited about that. I'm very excited that's getting replaced, by the way. Like
there was an ice cream run for and nobody got it. Like
no one cared as much because we have a One Way Out run now. I'm saying
Cantina 5.
Yeah, I want to go up. I want to go up.
That's so cool.
All right. Let's keep moving through. All right. Ashley, I know you love this one too. Tales of the Jedi. Do you want to take it away?
Okay.
Or Jamie, or
no, go ahead, Ashley. Go ahead.
No, we'll let Jamie handle that one because I know she's read the Ahsoka novels, so she can kind of give her viewpoint on it. So
I have. So Tales of the Jedi. I want to start by talking about the fact that I love this format for storytelling.
Yes.
Because these were shorts. I mean, they were 15 minutes each, if that. I don't even think they were that long.
They were fast. Yeah.
So they were shorts. They were kind of meant to give you like a little blip of a story, but that takes place in a much bigger story. So that was so striking to me and so important to me, because these are things that maybe wouldn't necessarily be enough story to be fleshed out into a series or a movie or even a full episode of, like a 25-minute episode or an hour-long episode of something, but they gave us enough context and gave us a lot of sort of oomph for some of these characters. And I can't say that without talking about Yaddle.
Yes.
Mark, was Yaddle on your bingo card? Because I know you're
no. But I have it in my Word doc here of things. I love Yaddle is really what it says. That's as deep as my notes go.
But like, and I don't even know, like my brain is swimming just thinking about all these episodes because each of them had such incredible high points. But the episode with Yaddle just really took my breath away. I was like, dang, this was a character that was in the prequels for a hot minute. And everybody kind of just refers to her as like this female Yoda. It's like this only other version of this only other being that is like Yoda. And here we have a moment to really show her prowess and to show what she stands for and to show that she is absolutely a force to be reckoned with. I mean, the girl's got some saber skills, which I thought was
she fought hard. Yeah.
She sure did. So that episode really stuck out to me. But then when I think of Tales of the Jedi, the other moment that really stuck out to me, and like I full on cried, but I mean I cry over everything, but it really got me, was the last episode with Ahsoka attending Padme's funeral.
Yeah, that was rough.
I got to see Ashley Eckstein just a couple weeks ago. She was doing a talk at Disney Springs, and she talked about that moment of her having to record the line, "She was my friend." Oh. And she was sitting there talking, and you could tell this woman was trying not to cry. She's like, I cried in the studio the entire time. She's like, there are takes and takes and takes of me saying this one line.
And her voice breaks in the recording.
It sure
too.
does. Yeah. And she talks about how she cried because it's really emotional. And, something that Ashley and Mark and I talk quite a bit about are these female characters, and how often so many of these female characters have these deep connected female friendships or other female relationships, and how it is really something that's kind of special with modern Star Wars. We didn't get a lot of the original trilogy, but in modern Star Wars, seeing so many of these female characters come together is really something. So then to have a scene where two incredibly prominent and two incredibly powerful characters like Padme and Ahsoka kind of have their final goodbye under incredible duress on Ahsoka's side. I just thought that really resonated with me. Like that really stuck with me. And I think about that line all the time, and that episode all the time, that she was my friend line just really haunts me. It's something.
And
if they put that on a shirt, I'm going to die. It's just
that art piece from Celebration that Zoltan Simon did of Ahsoka walking on the beach, and you see like Coruscant in the background. It's just
it's beautiful, but listen, I don't want that on my wall. I'd be crying.
No, Star Wars will traumatize you. Yeah. This is One Way Out. That did it for me. She's my friend. You know how there's another thing I want to build on what you were saying about the importance of the women characters. And I had this thought when the Yaddle episode happened, because I turned to my husband and I was like, that was just a puppet in episode 1. That wasn't even a character. And I've used this phrase before, that we've had a lot of women in Star Wars before who were not characters, they were costumes. And that's nothing against the women who played them. It's the fact that they were written as a woman to stand there. Barriss Offee is probably the best example of this. She has 0 lines in episode 2 or 3 or wherever she shows up, right? I don't even remember. I think it's episode 2. She does nothing, but she stands there and she looks cool. And the actress who played her is very nice. She's terrific. Nalini Krishan. I'm blank for a second, but in the animation, when we get to Clone Wars and when we get to Rebels and other places like that, Clone Wars with Barriss Offee, man, do we have a character, brought to life by Meredith Salinger with an incredible backstory. Dave and everyone else wrote for her a real story with real conflict with Ahsoka and Asajj Ventress and all these other interesting women who got 0 lines because all the lines were taken up by Hayden Christensen and Ewan McGregor and Count Dooku and Ian McDermott and every man that they found in Star Wars. And even Natalie Portman talks to like her duplicates, like it's her and her clones. And even then they have to pretend that they're different people, like they're all hiding their identities. It's really sad. But now we get to animation and the women really shine.
And we see it again with, I can think of just right off the top of my head, Shakti, Deepa Ballaba, Aya Sakura. Poor Aya Sakura is literally like most famous in the original trilogy or in the prequel trilogy for getting shot by the clone.
Yeah.
Like that's her moment.
On Volusia. That's all she gets. But Clone Wars fleshes her out so much.
So it's incredible that we are getting through animation and through some of these live action shows, we are getting that sort of redemption, right? There's that word
Yes.
again of these female characters.
We're revisiting them.
Revisiting them.
Yeah.
And it also helps that the sandbox is also open to women a lot more now. It is a lot more inclusive.
On the creator side, yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And having, you know, rumor has it that not only the cast, but the crew who are working on Ahsoka are mostly women or female represented people. And that is huge. I don't think we've ever had anything like that before in Star Wars. So
The Acolyte has a female director, and I'm blanking on her name, and she's obsessed with The Matrix, and she's obsessed with Episode 1. And someone said,
why we
1999, this woman's dream came true. She saw it on screen, and now she has manifested it because she is going to make The Matrix with Jedi, and she cast Carrie-Anne Moss. And I was like, everything
I want
about
her
that,
to come to Boston so
that
bad.
vision board
oh my God.
of whatever that woman did, like
it's Leslie Headland.
Yes, Leslie.
So, she did the Natasha Lyonne show, Russian Doll.
Yes,
so she's responsible for that.
She sure did. Yep, she sure did.
All connected.
But like, even just sort of going through IMDb just
so
real quick with the Acolyte, it's mostly women. All the men are like at the very end.
Stunning.
Yeah. Where we belong. No, I've been saying for the longest time we need more, not just women. You know, remember when it was strong female character, and that was like the progressive, because we needed one, and we needed you to be strong. That's Black Widow. And now it's like we have a movie called The Marvels where there's 3 female leads, and they're different ethnicities and different ages and different similar power sets, but like different purposes and different places to play in the portfolio. Like that, but it's still kind of a big deal. And I'm kind of like, no, it's just part of like the larger tapestry. Like there's a She-Hulk and a Marvels, the same way there's like a Falcon and the Winter Soldier and a Loki and an Ant-Man. Like they're all in the big tapestry.
It's not the MCU. It's not one or the other. It's everybody. Everybody's connected. And I still have
all in there.
I still have my shirt from when Mockingbird was a comic. So Bobby Morrison and the Mockingbird became popular in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And one of the covers had her on a beach and said, "Ask me about my feminist agenda." And they were actually selling that shirt. Marvel was actually selling that shirt, and I bought one. So I have it somewhere. But yeah, it's just, it makes me so happy to have the women of Star Wars kind of take charge in this. And you see it kind of focus a little more on Ahsoka, where she's helping, you know, a family in need, but as Jamie said, saying goodbye to her friend who had passed. And another thing that kind of caught me off guard, and as much as Jamie can attest to more of the Ahsoka part of it, was Dooku mourning the loss of Qui-Gon.
Yeah.
We never got to see that.
Yeah.
And that was just him standing there outside of the tree and just mourning Qui-Gon's favorite thing in all of Coruscant. Like that one just like, got me right in the field.
Yeah.
And it was
Dooku's story was really good.
It was honestly what kicked him over to the dark side. Like you could see a lot of his gray Jedi beliefs instilled in Qui-Gon. And kind of also Obi-Wan to an extent. But
well, they don't like rules. I think that's the common denominator there. Is like rules for you, but not for me.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a bad bone in Obi-Wan's body though. Like that's what's so funny is like he has been through it. We just talked about this. That man, even when it came to Darth Vader at the end, he couldn't kill Anakin. Like he didn't kill. I mean, he finally killed Darth Maul, but in the moment, like, don't you think when Satine was struck down? Which, by the way, we're gonna come to this, but like, how has no one said the name Satine out loud? We keep getting these like little flourishes about her in the Obi-Wan show and Mando season 3. Where's my live action Anna Graves? Like, I have this is the kind of stuff that makes me crazy. But like, he didn't rage against Darth Maul in that moment. Like he somehow maintains, even though that man has had like a mountain of crap fall on him his entire life. Everyone he knows is dead.
When I think about Obi-Wan though, it's like I think about the fact that, to your point, he is so he's really, I think, is focused on the rules. I think he really is focused on the Jedi way and the Jedi tenets and the rules of the Force and things like that. And I think what we see, especially in like Obi-Wan and these more recent shows, is that we see that he's kind of coming to terms with the fact that the rules have failed him just over and over and over and over again.
The amount of loss is huge.
yeah, it's
It's catastrophic.
yeah, coming to terms with that is so serious and so hard. So I always feel bad for Obi-Wan. He
Yeah.
Poor guy got a
I
tough shake.
I will say I don't know if we're getting another Obi-Wan show. And I think if we don't, this was a good conclusion. And I think it summed up the story nicely. I would like to see more of him. I think Ewan
Yeah.
McGregor is great. He's captivating, he's charming, the character's interesting.
Beautiful.
I also don't know if it's necessary. As I think about like the 100 things we need in Star Wars, if we start ranking things like what needs exploration, we need more. I don't know if we need more of Obi-Wan. We've got all these Clone Wars. We've got his story wrapping up in Rebels. We've got the Obi-Wan show. He's in movie 4, 5, and 6. He's in movies 1, 2, and 3. Where the hell? He's in every comic still. Like where the hell?
I kind of just want to
else
move on.
Yeah, like this goes back to
timeline.
my larger question of like where should Star Wars go next? And it's like somewhere else. That's my only thing, is like somewhere else, anywhere else.
I mean, y'all know I started reading the High Republic finally after looking at those books for like the last 2 years sitting on my shelf. I finally started reading the High Republic and I love it. I'm totally obsessed. I'm like, we like move the timeline like back 200 years because there's so much content to explore there. That I worry that we don't really need to live in the Skywalker timeline anymore, just because we have explored it so much and in such great detail.
We're running out of days for events to happen on. Like truly, the calendar is very full. So speaking of new time periods, then this one is sort of in the Time Walker space. It's newly created though, as of 2019, the Mandoverse, the in between of 6 and 7, which I think is pretty deep, and we are in different places. And we're very focused on Mandalore, which is always just outside of like the Empire for the most part, although they intersect quite a bit, as we'll see. Mando season 3. Do one of you guys want to take it away? Also, I think it's a great show representing women. I think like Mandu, Emily, and Katie crush it, and I think they're the stars of the show. I think we also just talked about Mando pretty recently, so it's very top of mind. But I enjoyed it, and what I'm calling the Book of Bo-Katan, like that's how I think about this season.
Oh yeah, like. I love that Katie even agreed with that TikTok video of casual Bo-Katan just being like, "Oh crap, he's here!" Run to the table.
How do people sit? See you there. How do people sit? That's the best part. Is
listen, I want one picture out of Disneyland, one picture, and I want to be tagged in it immediately. From the Disneyland Star Wars night, they have the throne. They have Bo-Katan's throne.
How many Bo-Katan cosplayers are going to sit in that throne? Please.
I don't care. I hope one of them has a box of wine. All I wanted for Bo-Katan in that scene, I told you about this in the last show. I just wanted her to have like a Mandalorian box of wine, just waiting for her chilling. Yeah. Because all Sis needed in that moment. She was like...
So just make the box empty and just like fancy it up, like zhuzh it up and put like Cree's Vineyards or something on it, something cool. And just, we want to see that. So if you guys go to Star Wars night and you do that, please tag us in that photo.
Having said that, Disneyland security won't let you in with a box of wine, so do what you got to do with that.
You need a prop.
You need a prop.
Just make sure that you take out the bag, obviously, and just obviously the top open so they can see what's in it and be like, it's part of the costume, I swear.
What you do with that bag of wine is between you and God. So.
Adult Capri Sun, just saying.
Anyway, I digress. Mando season 3.
Yeah.
I know you guys just did a whole show of this, so
yeah, that's fine. We'll gladly talk about it time and
no, and by the way, it was a great show. I listened. I was tuned in when I missed. But you guys did a nice job holding it down and covering the whole season. It was a lot. There was a lot to cover.
Oh my God.
A lot of connectivity to Rebels. Great moments for Bo.
Per girls.
Yeah, per girl.
Lots in our timeline.
I almost forgot, like, they relit the forge. It's such a big deal. And yet so much happened where like I almost fully forgot. I was like, what were the big moments? I was like, oh yeah, they relit the forge. Like Mandalore's back. Like yeah, wild.
And they can obviously regrow food because you see that little snippet of the cave and all the flora and fauna growing quite nicely. And the knowledge that I don't want to say the pirate Mandos, but I have no other word for them. The pirate Mandos have learned over time since the Siege of Mandalore. I honestly, the tie-ins to Rebels this season, chef's kiss. Absolutely. Like me texting you guys in the middle of the night, being like, don't look at the internet, was like
the real VIP
the theme of this season.
It's good advice in general.
Oh yeah. Like I will forever notify you if you are going to be spoiled horrifically. And this season, between that the kind of Andor-esque episode with Dr. Pershing and Elia Kane, and yeah, that was kind of shocking. And you get to see, how far the Empire is going to stay on top of things. Like, they're not dead, they're just in hiding.
Yeah, it's this season for me. I talked about it a little bit last week, but this season for me just felt really foundational. This was not my favorite season of Mando, which is fine. Everybody has, their favorites and their least favorites. What I kind of took away from this season of Mando is sort of what we started the show talking about, is that there is so much coming and there's so much connection to everything. This season kind of felt a little bit all over the place for me, with different storylines and different, things that I like wanted more of, but then I was like, all right, we're probably going to get more of this in another story or another show or another movie or whatever the case may be. But yeah, I just, there was so much going on at any given point that I'm like, oh my God, where do I even go first? Like, where do I focus first?
Yeah, so it really was. And I think we would be remiss if we didn't talk about the return of Carson Teva and the return of Steve Bloom to Star Wars as Zeb
cool.
Aurelios. Like, as I said before, the scream that came out of my mouth, like, wait a minute.
I could not believe it.
Are there
the sobbing photo of me?
Yeah. Are the Sats back? Are they repopulating their planet? And then he opened his mouth and he talked, and I was like, wait a minute, the voice.
Steve Bloom. Yeah.
But to have him do the mocap as well, it felt like Star Wars. Like, it's like, oh, they're home. Like, they're doing this. They're really doing this. So
we're going to get all of them. I mean, they've now announced live action Hera, live action Sabine, live action Ezra, live action Chopper, and Zeb. The only one missing, I would say, is Jason. But yes, like 5 of the 6 ghosts, because obviously Kanan's dead unless we get a Force ghost, which
I think we'll get a hologram.
I think they'll have to, and I think they should have Freddy do it, because like he looks close enough, and you put the little visor on him that covers most of his face anyway, and you do a little zhuzh with the fix in the computer, and you're set. Like, I think Freddy, does the voice already. If he has a recording for Hera that's like, before I'm leaving.
Can we not?
I know. Can we not? I've already thought about this. I found a way. This is the trauma.
You put
in your audio, and that's the torture.
This has to be the one thing that Mark gets right this season. I'm telling you, please let this be right. As much as it's going to physically destroy me,
I was voting.
Please let Mark be right.
Sabine and Ursa and Tristan to show up in Mando. That didn't happen.
We all did. Oh my God.
Porky Kreese was coming back. Girl, I got nothing right.
I will die on that hill. Okay, he'll be back in some form.
I'm gonna need a bank routing number for my therapy sessions if this comes right, because you're on the hook now.
Yeah. I do think we're gonna. I think that because we've seen a hologram of I almost said Taylor, of Ezra. I think we'll see a hologram of Kanan. I almost said Freddy. I'm broken. I can only think in the actors' names. Which, by the way, like part of my.
It doesn't help that they look so much like their characters. It's not even funny. Yeah. So.
If anyone hasn't listened yet to our interview with Taylor Gray, he was amazing. And
I nerded out so bad.
He is Ezra Bridger, and he always will be Ezra Bridger, as will all of the cast of Rebels. Like, they are all they all deserve their roses. We were able to interview 2 people so far. Taylor Gray and Philip Anthony Rodriguez, who was our first guest, the fifth brother, the fifth brother himself.
So good.
And we do have another guest coming in 2 weeks, and we will be putting that up in the chat very soon. Just need to get some graphics sorted and stuff, but it's going to be a really fun one. Another core Ghost member is joining us in a couple weeks. Which we're very excited about. Yeah, it's going to be awesome. We have a lot of actually announcements toward the end of the show that we need to get to, so we're going to continue to wrap this up.
Let's go.
Yeah. So let's get to Mando season 3 final thoughts. I agree with Jamie that I think it was scattered. I liked it. I still call it Book of Bo-Katan, and I think if we called it that, everyone would actually not have as many problems with it as they did.
Yeah.
And it does speak to what I think is the largest problem going on in Star Wars right now, though, is that because everything has to be connected, it feels like it's a piece of something instead of something that stands on its own.
Right.
And I think that Star Wars has to figure out how to make that balance work, because Marvel had it working for the longest time, but now I think Marvel has fallen into that same trap. So they both fell into the same trap at the same time, which is suspicious to me. I don't know why that is. But maybe it's streaming, that like streaming now makes it seem like we're required to watch that much more content, when with movies I don't watch a movie once every 3 months. Now I got to keep up with TV.
And I really hope that doesn't come back to bite them come the Dave Filoni movie, right? Because if the Dave Filoni movie is meant to tie in all these things together, I think enough people have watched The Mandalorian. I think we'll probably be okay there. But there's so much else that I think a lot of people are gonna be like, "Who? What? What am I
Who's
watching?
gonna
Why do
watch
I
Skeleton
what?
Crew? I hate to be that guy,
Yeah,
but who's gonna watch
I know.
Skeleton Crew? I know I am, but like, who from the general audience is watching
No,
Skeleton
it's
Crew?
true.
Yeah.
But that's also why I have such a hard time with those stupid articles saying watch 4 episodes of Rebels and you'll be fine with Ahsoka. So
It's like you will not.
It's a
yeah.
So-
Especially when one of them was Jedi Knight. I was like, that has nothing to do. I was like screaming. I was like, who picked this list? So by the way, we're
Dave
gonna talk
did.
about our own...
Okay. I will tell you something about Dave. And this is something I've heard straight from people who know him best. Dave is a very modest person. He will never toot his own horn when it comes to his product. So the fact that he said, just watch a couple episodes, he's totally underselling the work. He doesn't want to come off as pompous or pushy or anything like that. So we're going to be pompous and pushy for you, Dave. And we're going to tell everybody to please watch all of Rebels. 4 seasons,
we also
you can
have
handle
a
it.
specific Ahsoka plan, the same way we had a plan for Andor. And
Yeah.
we were in the moment with Obi-Wan, but
yeah,
we're getting good at these like build-ups. So
yeah.
Okay. Other things from the year. Celebration 2023. I was physically there. Ashley was our news desk anchor, our Barbara Walters, as it were, at the desk with the boys. For me, I thought the Ahsoka trailer was the most exciting physical thing that was actually announced. Like, but the 3 movies coming, Daisy Ridley, 15 years in the future, High Republic all the way on the other side, like years and years in the past, and then the Mando Avengers team up movie that's going to tie together like that whole time period. All exciting stuff, and it seemed really real, so that worked for me. I thought I came out of Celebration feeling very hopeful and feeling like satisfied, and I got numerous pictures with the Rebels mural in real life. I even touched it, so like things are good, and I got the shirt. Courtesy of a friend through a coworker. So thank you to everyone that it took to get this from England to my house. It was a lot.
I'm still hoping they throw some more on the site.
They have to. It's ridiculous that this sold out on day 2.
I can't even find it on eBay.
Yeah, no, it's
that's
bonkers.
the problem. Yeah, it's gone. So
there was one on eBay, but it was like a 2XL, and it looked all faded like that. So I didn't know if it
this
was
is a
real.
medium, and I keep rolling up my sleeves because they're down to my elbows. No, it's the fact that the sleeves go down to my elbows. Watch this. Watch this medium T-shirt hit my elbow. What is this? What is this? Like,
I shudder to show you what the sleeves look like on this stupid May the 4th T-shirt because it looks like wings. They come down like this, and they're like.
This is going to be a sleeveless shirt soon. Let me tell you, because like this is insanity. I also need to throw it in the dryer and shrink it. This is the first time I'm wearing it.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so
they will shrink up.
Celebration 23. Thoughts on the big announcements? What did you guys think? Like top item.
Top item Ahsoka, hands down. I think. For properties that we aren't too familiar about, like everybody, of course, is going to say Ahsoka Rebels season 5. But I think I'm the most excited about the Acolyte because I want to see something. It seems like it's going to be different, and it just has a different feel to Star Wars.
There's an energy there.
Yeah, I really like that. And also Skeleton Crew, if they have Goonies with Jedi, like I'm totally down with that.
I still don't understand what that show is.
Me either, but I'm totally okay with that.
Yeah.
So I would agree. Obviously I'm desperate for my crew to come back, so I'm very much on board with Ahsoka. However, I have done a lot of stories and a lot of rants about how desperately nervous I am about Ahsoka, and I'm pretty transparent about it. For me, Rebels entered my life the first time at a very pivotal moment, and then it re-entered my life a second time at a very sad and desperate moment when I really needed it. So I have like an unhealthy connection to some of these characters.
Yeah.
And seeing them go live action is going to be very stressful for me, especially because I have come to count on them so much as comfort characters, and I've come to count on voice actors like Tia Sakar and Vanessa Marshall. Thank you. Sorry, it went right up my ear. And Vanessa Marshall as just really inspiring people for me. So it's going to be a shift, and I'm going to have to be a big girl and make that shift because I'm sure it's going to be worth it. But it's going to be.
You still have Lars.
Yeah.
So I mean, listen.
I feel you though. I have the exact same. I have the exact same trepidation.
So I want to go into it giving everybody a fair shake. Obviously, I'm not going to be in there, cheating and get-go, but I just have some anxiety around some of the things I've already seen. I want them to do the story justice, and I want it to just I guess my biggest issue with it right now, I'm so sorry because we've definitely gone down a rabbit hole, is that I always worry that if the Ghost Crew would take a back seat and almost be like the backup dancers to Ahsoka. And I
Mm.
don't want that to happen here because their story is so important and it's so there's so much beauty in that story, excuse me, that I just don't want it to be overshadowed by Ahsoka, if that makes sense.
No, I
Ashley,
agree.
do you remember? This is shows and shows ago. I was saying something about how what I think Rebels' one detriment is, and it happens every now and then across the 4 seasons, is they Forrest Gump their way through Star Wars history, and the story isn't about them. And I actually said the episode with Steve Stanton and Sam Witwer playing Obi-Wan and Darth Maul would have been an amazing movie and then should have been their own thing. And
Yeah.
the fact that Ezra Bridger
Ezra
like
and
stumbles
Chopper
into
are
it,
right into it. Yeah.
I was like, what the hell is this? And they were like, by the way, that's an amazing episode because it's just a great story, but it has nothing to do with Rebels. I understand how they like forced it in and they, because, you know, Ezra being connected to Darth Maul, but like the resolution to that doesn't have a damn thing to do with Kanan and Hera and everyone else. It really doesn't. And they never even talk to Obi-Wan and they don't even see Luke. So it's all this kind of stuff where I'm like, that's exactly, if they did that too much, it happened a couple times and I was like, but it also, they were good stories. But if it
Twilight
happens
of the
in a way,
Apprentice too. Yeah.
there's a little bit
To
of
a
that.
degree. Yeah.
Right. They at least like had screen time and their actions, and like Ezra really learned something, and he got the holocron and like things still, they still felt important, but it could easily happen. Ahsoka is like so the darling of like she's holding up the franchise at the moment along with Mando.
Sure is.
That like you can easily see, oh, I'm Hera, I'm just supporting Ahsoka.
I don't want that. Like I
No.
cannot stress to you how much I do not want that to happen. Because Hera especially and Sabine especially, and these are all such powerful and really revolutionary characters that Disney kind of put on the table, and I just don't want them to be overshadowed by a character who already has so much screen time and so much visibility. I want that the Ghost Crew story to come to its resolution with those characters.
Totally fair. And I think
or even give them a spin-off if there's more stories to tell with the Ghost Crew. Tell them. Like, I will never say no. Just tell them.
I'd be up for that. It would be interesting is if you get there's a thing that the Super Mario Brothers Super Show from the late 80s, right?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Was a live action opening and an animated segment in the middle, right? And then it closed with a live action thing. It's almost the Billy D. Young Lando situation where Billy D narrates and then Donald takes over as young Lando in the story, only to do it live action and animation. And there'd be a way to keep Rebels going in that format of like storyteller kind of thing where it's flashing back to other adventures. And then Kanan's still alive, right? And whoever else. And you could keep telling those stories if you wanted. That's the kind of thing that I think would be great in like minis as well, like shorts. We were talking earlier about Tales of the Jedi, Tales from the Ghost. There you go. Like, get it rolling.
I'm down with that. That'd be awesome.
Like, that would
be fun. You hear us, Lucasfilm. You hear us, give us the show.
I'm constantly pitching things to my licensing guy, and he's like, "That's not what this call is about." So, anyway, the lot is upcoming though. That's actually on the calendar that we're very excited about. So we're going to talk a little bit about that now. We already went on and on about Ahsoka, which I think is the thing that everyone is excited about, nervous about, like ready for. We will be announcing something pretty big on the VCN soon about exactly what that entails once we get through May the 4th.
We forgot Bad Batch.
I was gonna say we didn't talk about the Batch.
Oh, you're right. All right, so Bad Batch season 2.
Crosshair is glaring at you right now.
Yeah, I'm in the crosshair. I'm sure he's like, "How dare you, sir?" Who, by the way, we're going to talk about how Crosshair's gay, right? Like that's got to be a thing at some point. Can we just make that a topic for another day? One cosplayer actually asked me. He's like, a lot of people are, saying that Crosshair is a gay character, and I was like, "Oh, he's totally queer coded." And he's like, "Oh, I didn't even realize that. It was a straight guy who was playing he just looks like him." And he's like, "Oh, that's cool." He didn't think anything of it, but he was wondering why that was. And I was like, "He's clearly queer coded." Like we could do a whole conversation about that. So maybe that's a unifying force discussion, queer coded characters in Star Wars, because I think Crosshair is at the top of that list. You guys loved Bad Batch, right?
Absolutely loved it. Last few episodes broke me. Absolutely broke me. Oh, I don't know.
This is where I do this.
Oh, you haven't? Oh no.
No. So let me preface this.
Okay.
I'm so sorry and I'm like afraid to look at the chat. So
no, you're fine.
Pretend that's not my name on the bottom there. I had a really hard time with the Bad Batch season 1.
Me too.
And I had a really hard time with the Bad Batch season 1 because they lost me right out of the gate by retconning Caleb's story.
Yes.
So I went into the Bad Batch season 1 after that very first episode full of rage. And I watched all of season 1, but I was grumpy about it. Like, to the point where my husband's like, all right, let's turn off the TV. You need to go touch grass. Like, they lost me from episode 1. So have I seen season 2? I've seen bits and pieces of it. Do I know what happens in season 2? Yes. I'll get to it. I promise. I'm going to see my way out of this conversation.
No, you're fine. This goes back to the larger concern, though, of if all things have to connect, and now you have homework. That's not healthy.
No, of course.
That's not a healthy fandom.
Right.
So, because believe me, I felt guilted into watching Bad Batch season 2 because I'm on
Sorry.
this channel, and this one's my co-host. By the way, I love you, Ashley. You know that. And I'm actually really glad that I watched Bad Batch season 2 because
I'm
season
so glad
2
you
was
stuck
really
with it.
good, and I loved it. I did not like season 1, and here's the thing: my rule, and
So
I say it
many
all the
people
time.
didn't.
I don't talk about the things I don't like, and you'll notice what I don't talk about on these channels, and then we'll go off air and be like, "Oh, I hate that thing." I don't talk about it on air. Like
That's why he was always like, "So Ashley, what did you think about Bad Batch?" And I'm like, "Well,
Yeah.
I really liked it." And he's like,
listen, I have so many friends that are like die-hard clone fans, right? They live for the clones in the Clone Wars. They live for any mention of the 501st or any of the squads. I love that for them, right? And I am not here to be like, oh, it was crappy and I hated it because I didn't like season 1. It didn't work for me, right? And I am not here to take it away from anybody else. I did hear what you guys heard, that season 2 was a totally different show.
Yeah.
So
it's like a completely different writing team and producing team took over. I don't understand how it's so different. Like,
so rest assured, it's on my list. I will get to it.
Here's the thing: don't feel obligated, though, and I think that's a call out to everyone in the fandom too. Don't feel obligated. Watch what you want to watch. Rewatch stuff if you want to rewatch it.
But make sure you watch Rebels.
We will push Rebels on you every week. And by the way, we're going to get back to watch-alongs pretty soon, but we've been doing these in-depth discussions because we've got interesting things happening.
A lot to talk about.
A lot to talk about. Celebration, May the 4th. We have some announcements coming. We have more watch-along. By the way, we're going to have a slew of watch-alongs to the point where you're going to get sick of it as we get ready for Ahsoka, because in the lead up to Ahsoka, which comes out in August, we're doing all 12 of the Star Wars Rebels episodes that feature her. So you're talking about 10 to 12 weeks of watch-alongs of just episodes that are Ahsoka focused on this channel starting in June. So prepare yourself. It's going to be a blast.
Happy anniversary to us. Here's some Ahsoka.
It'll be some of the best stuff, right? Because we're going to hit like Twilight of the Apprentice. We're going to hit World Between Worlds. We're going to do all of that in chronological order, getting closer to the show. And then across the rest of the VCN, it'll be Clone Wars related stuff,
Tales of the Jedi.
Tales of the Jedi, all that good stuff. So it's going to be a really comprehensive program, and it's going to start in June. Obviously, May is all about Star Wars month in general with all like the equity things happening. And it just made sense knowing that Ahsoka starts in August. We'll start the Ahsoka programming, the lead up to in June. So more to come. But it goes back to what we're excited about. So we're really excited about Ahsoka. I know that everyone's excited about Jedi Survivor. I see it all over the Facebook group and everyone. I have not played yet. I haven't watched a walkthrough yet. We are going to get back to that on this channel because I'm hearing there's some small Rebels connections, nothing major. It's not like Zeb pops in or something, but like there's some small stuff. And then I know there's a lot of merch coming out on the 4th because Thursday is the 4th.
Oh my gosh, yeah. So I'm really excited for Cal Kestis's Galaxy's Edge Saber.
Yeah.
But there's
and that's
only
Thursday, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Only 7,600 of them.
Oh, is that all?
Yeah, that's all. And it's available at Shop Disney and in the parks. And it's straight from Jedi Survivor. Jamie's gonna go nuts trying to get one.
Oh boy! Well, may the force be with you truly.
Bad 2 all day. So yeah, I'll keep y'all posted from Bad 2. I'll be there all day.
Yeah.
Open to close, baby.
Yeah. Fingers crossed we finally get that Kanan Jarrus Caleb Doom lightsaber.
That would be cool. Yeah. With that in mind, everyone just in the fandom, keep an ear out for Thursday. Like there's going to be new stuff. Obviously, Visions drops. We've got the Young Jedi situation happening. New merch. I know my job where our sale is already running because everything has to end at May the 5th. Like if you're doing something on May the 4th, it's probably your final day of doing things. Like I believe Her Universe and all the other
Revenge
major licensees. Yeah, but you have to close out your May the 4th stuff once May the 4th is over. That's like a licensee rule. So your sales and everything else usually start now, or like we started ours on Friday. Our sale's been running since Friday. So keep an eye out for all the licensees that are out there that you want. Maybe you were eyeing something and you couldn't afford it. I know I'm running a 15% off sale. I know other places are doing even deeper discounts, free shipping, like across the board. Keep an eye out, and hopefully you're signed up to all the email lists. We will not stop emailing people this week. It's kind of too much, actually. But like that's how it's going. I'm getting a lot of Star Wars emails this week, and you'll get a ton on Thursday as well. So keep an eye out for all that.
And watch your drop times as well. So I know like Shop Disney is doing 2 drop times. They're doing a 12 a.m. Pacific time drop time and then an 8 a.m. Pacific time drop time. So it's not just stuff that's going to be readily available on the site. Like there'll be a waiting room and it'll definitely be a little bit of chaos, but just watch those drop times because man, it's going to be crazy.
And I'm sure Lego and Hasbro and a few others.
Lego's already started.
Yeah.
It's
that UCS X-Wing, which is gorgeous, by the way. And I kind of want one, but
I'm hoping they put up more shirts because we have to get our whole crew. And then from this Thursday, you want to talk about what's happening Thursday?
Okay, so they're gonna have on Thursday night during the watch along a preview to Ahsoka. So it starts this week, and guess what?
Well, we're announcing it this week, but I guess it does sort of start this week. Yeah, because we're watching. I almost forgot what we were watching actually. All right, tell everyone because I'm messing it up.
No, it's okay. You can tell.
No, you tell them. Okay.
Well, Mark and I and Catherine will be joining the guys on the Thursday night watch along. Oh my gosh, I'm blanking right now.
We're watching Siege of Mandalore.
Yes.
So we're doing the final 4 episodes of Clone Wars Season 7, collectively known as Siege of Mandalore. It's going to be about an hour and a half watch along. Plus, obviously, we'll start at 9:30 p.m. Eastern like we always do. So it'll be a nice 2-hour show. The 3 of us have never been on screen together, me, you, and Kat. Except at the big New Year's Day situation.
Yeah, the New Year's
Day. That was like when we had 20 of us. It was wild. So this will be a fun watch along, celebrating May the 4th. I believe I was joking. I was like, is everyone actually going to an event? So we're pulling in all the people who were never on Thursday, but it's going to be a wild time. We're very excited to watch Siege of Mandalore and see Ahsoka kick all the ass. And of course, hit all the emotional beats. Those final moments are just gut-wrenching, right? Like Star Wars knows how to traumatize, and this was during the pandemic, and I was home on furlough, was sitting next to my husband. I've worked on Star Wars at that point for like 7 years, and I was like, this is happening, and I'm not part of it, like, because I wasn't working. And so, which, by the way, if I get that time back, I'll tell you now, I know that no one should be like wishing for anything pandemic-ish, but like to have a couple months off to not work again, really. And so I sat there and I watched Siege of Mandalore, and I was like emotionally devastated. I was like, this is it. It's the end of the world, but at least I got to see Siege of Mandalore. Like, it was that pitiful. But we'll be doing that on Thursday. So come join us as I wax poetic like that. So, so that's Thursday. But we have some other big announcements, and I'm going to turn it over to the ladies.
Okay. We are coming up on the 1-year anniversary next month of Star Wars Rebels Revisited. And it's been so fun spending this last year with you. But Mark and I, though we'll still be on Rebels Revisited, we'll still be coming to you every Monday. We have a new show in the works. So I would like to introduce you guys to my co-host, Miss Jamie Graham. Yay!
Yeah. She's right there.
She's right there.
Mom, I did it. I
can't do it. Why can't I point? There we go. I know. The pointing is hard. Welcome aboard.
You fed me once, and now I'm here.
Love Cat on her porch, Mom.
I have to tell you this. When Ashley sent me the initial text to cover one show for Rebels Revisited, I was like literally sitting in the middle of Disney Springs, like near tears, because it was just such a weird bucket list thing that like I wanted to do for so long, but also didn't know how badly I wanted to do it. So like leading up to that show, just I gotta look right, I've got to set up everything, I've got to look perfect, I'm doing all my research, I'm gonna be ready, and then just knowing that there's an opportunity to keep doing this is really cool.
The coolest
really
part
cool.
is you can be prepared, but you can also like, just be your nerdy little self. It's totally fine.
Love that.
So glad to have you with us for this new show, and let us introduce our fantabulous producer, Mr. Darth Von Olin himself, Mark. Yeah.
Yep. So we should talk a little.
hard.
Yeah, I know. Learn how to point. I can't.
Backwards.
So this trio will be coming to you guys live. We're plotting out the details, but it'll be starting in June. So tell them a little bit about what the show is going to be, because I really think there's a reason you two are on air and I will be behind the scenes the way like Dave is. I'll be hiding in the background.
So it's okay, go ahead, Jamie. Sorry.
No, it's okay. It's okay. So, we talked about it in this show, and it was really hard to keep my mouth shut in that moment. But one of the things that modern Star Wars has given us is just such an incredible focus on strong and realistic and powerful female characters. And, I like to think that we do that in the legacy, of course, of Carrie and in the legacy of Princess Leia. But now just having all these wonderful, I'm staring at them right now on my wall. Having all these inspirational female characters is just such an incredible thing that we get to gift to the next generation of Star Wars fans. So Ashley and I are so excited that we are going to really get to explore those female characters with you. We'll get to do deep dives and talk about just the best moments of some of these female characters. We'll talk about their relationship to other female characters, good and bad. We're not here to just talk about the good girls, right? There are definitely some gray characters or some straight up bad characters that we're going to talk about as well. But it's just such an incredible time to be a female Star Wars fan. And it's an incredible time to have that powerful representation in this franchise. So I can't wait. I am so excited.
Yeah.
So excited.
It's going to be so much fun. And we'll be talking about, as Jamie said, representation in all forms of media, but also like merchandise. Appearances in the parks. Like we're gonna get deep dives into it, and as many female characters or female presenting characters as there are in Star Wars, and we'll be coming at you twice a month, I think. Yeah, twice a month.
Wednesday.
Yeah.
Yes.
Starting in June on Wednesdays. We're working out the exact details. I think it's probably going to be the first and third Wednesday of every month, which funny enough would mean we'd go live on Wednesday, June 6th, which is 6 Day. I know.
But it's a happy anniversary.
I know. It's also visited. I know how great. Well, one, congratulations. We're a spinoff. How exciting is that? Which, by the way, this little show that could, which going back to Furlough, Jamie, the same thing with me with Rebels. Like I thought, because I've been a licensee for so long and I've done a lot of guests, like people invited me on podcasts, mostly to talk about my product, but also just sometimes to ask my feelings on Star Wars. And so Dan Zier was always one of those guys in the beginning who wanted me to be on his podcast. And then Frank from this channel, who does all the autographing, brought me on when I was working in the autographing space at Topps. And I really got into it there. And I was like, oh, I really love this. Maybe I could eventually do a podcast about Rebels. And then I mentioned that to Spencer, and God damn it, Spencer was like, you should really do that show. What would that show look like? And then I pulled in Ashley because he recommended Ashley. I knew her a little bit from my days at Topps, and now we're good friends in real life. How wonderful is that, right?
I love it.
When you meet someone and then your paths sort of diverge and then you come back together and it's like, where have we been? We should have been friends for the last 20 years. Like,
I know, we should have.
Hell
yeah.
So we clicked and we made the show, and then we're like, wow, this is really, really fun. I hope it's going well. You never know, right? Like if something's going to click or not, if people are going to tune in. And then like we met people at conventions and like we watch your show, we buy your t-shirts. Like
from what we hear, like hearing so many people wearing Rebels Revisited shirts at Celebration Europe.
Crazy. That's crazy.
I gotta get one.
I was like, you lie. Like I don't
now
believe
you're part of the crew, you definitely have to get one.
Yeah.
100%. I'm on it.
I was like, I want video evidence of these shirts.
And a Corky Crew shirt.
Corky Crew shirt. I have the Corky Crew shirt.
Wild. It's so stupid. But like, thank you for everyone indulging us on that. So everyone is in the chat, everyone is hanging out. Like we
love you guys.
Being able to talk to you guys and talk about Star Wars, and they give us ideas for shows. And Sherry sent us a sticker book like that she found at like a random flea market. Like just DM'd us on Twitter and being like, I've got one for you and one for Ashley. I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. Like I was like, I did not sign up to get gifts, but I have a gift.
But you know what? It's a testament to this community, and it's people that love Rebels as much as we do, and we get to share that with each other. And honestly, I'm so honored to be a part of it, and I just can't wait to see what else we can uncover from here. Like I'm both for our new show and especially for this show. They're passion projects. It's what we love. We hope that it shows with you guys as you watch every week, and the amount of care and the Google Doc
Google
the
Doc.
monstrosity of the Google Doc.
By the way, I'm the one who on all the things that I've worked on, like the news desk, the this, that, I'm like the Google Doc maniac. Everyone else puts on like a thought, and mine is like scripted. Like I am a lunatic. Which is why you see me going like this, together. And I'm like, because I'm just a terrible rememberer. Like I don't know what it is. Like I know my
David.
stuff, but I'm also just like bad at memorizing.
Yeah.
So yeah, but yeah. So for everyone, we're doing a Women of Star Wars show, and we've got 2 women hosts. We've got Ashley and Jamie coming at you Mondays and Wednesdays. Wednesdays twice a month, every other Wednesday. On VCN. Starting in June. We will also be live on Mondays for Rebels Revisited. So you still have me and Ashley on Mondays, Ashley and Jamie on Wednesdays. I'll be producing behind the scenes. And then God help me, I'll never be on a Thursday again, because that's a lot of time.
But you know what?
Thursdays are going to be great because they've got a great crew out there doing the watch alongs. It's going to be a wild summer leading up to Ahsoka.
So Spencer kind of like, he saw our marathon of us getting through all the women in Rebels and just was like, yeah, how about a new show? And I was thinking like, oh yeah, like cool,
we could do one more.
We'll do another episode. He goes, oh no, I'm talking like and I'm like, wait,
you
what?
Can't say yes to Spencer. But you, I'm telling this, I'm screaming this into the chat now. You can't say yes to Spencer.
I totally misunderstood, but like,
that's a marathon show though, girl. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Well, I thought it was a mistake when I opened the YouTube, and I was like, why is it like 2 hours long? I really thought that like something happened where the audio, where it just didn't turn off or something. And then I was like, oh my God, they went that whole time.
We talked for 2 hours.
So by the way, that's essentially our backdoor pilot for the show. It wasn't really intended that way at the start, but as it was happening, like, you two have a very good rapport. You've known each other for years. You know what you're talking about. There's a need for this in the fandom desperately. And I think there's also a need for this specifically on this channel. Like as the channel continues to grow, you can see we're tackling all these different topics, right? The Thursday watch along is still the flagship show, and they will cover the most important stuff going on. We've got Rebels like anchored on Mondays, which who knew Rebels was going to become like what it became? We knew, but like we didn't really know. We hoped. And then
our wildest dreams made it happen.
And then we've got, and of course there's Jedi Temple Archives to cover publishing. We've got the Unifying Force, which is very philosophical driven. We've got the news desk when there's news breaking, and now we have a dedicated women's show. So also we need a video game show. And I'm going to sort of throw this out to the chat. Like, if you are a gamer, now is your moment. Survivor is out. Like, do you want to host something? There's a few hosts right now who are like toying with the idea, but it's also really challenging to be on more than one show. If you are a gamer and you want to be on air and you're thinking you want to talk about or do watch alongs or essentially do Twitch for this, like this is your moment. So we need something for Survivor.
It'd be so much fun.
It could be a lot of fun.
Even if you want to start with Fallen Order, that'd be killer.
Or Battlefront or Coder or whatever you're into. Like, I think a video game channel would be really fun. Not that we need to keep expanding all the shows. We're very excited about Women of Star Wars. So.
Yay! We haven't quite come up with a name for it yet. Exactly. So if you guys have any ideas, please drop them in the chat. Please let us know. We're willing to come up with something. But I love that Jamie and I come across like we've known each other for years.
Yeah, I wasn't going to say it, but like,
I absolutely love that because like,
great story.
Jamie found me on Instagram and started following me. Was it because of my art? I don't know what
it was. So it was your Rebels art actually, and it was a little bit ago, I would say. It was
at least like
at least a year.
Yeah, it's probably about a year sounds about right. So, and she started following me on Instagram, and I was like, oh, she's really cool. And I happened to be in Orlando in October, doing a show with my friend Brian, and we were in Epcot for the day. And she's like, "I'm playing it by ear, but I might be able to get to Epcot today. We'll see how Sabine is and if she can handle it for the day." And I get off the ride. I let her know where I am just in case, in the off chance that she's there. I get off of Cosmic Rewind, and she's there with Sabine, and we spent like almost 3 hours just talking about everything, and not just Star Wars, but everything in our lives clicked. So it's one of the things I'm really happy about. And
this is what Star Wars does. It brings us together. I felt it at Celebration. I feel it every time I go to one of these shows, which that's the other, oh my God, we have other things to plug. Guys, we're so over time.
But it's true. We have a lot going on.
No, and we had a lot of announcements. I'm so excited about what the Women of Star Wars name coming, the show for Jamie and Ashley to take over, because it does seem like you guys have known each other for years, and this is what Star
Yay.
Wars does. It brings people, like-minded people together in a way that it connects them forever. Like I feel like I've known Spencer for 20 years. It's nuts. It's the same thing with Ashley, even though we've been tangential to each other for a while. Like
Yeah,
I
like 5
really
years
feel
now,
like
6 years.
yeah, it's wild. And actually with that in mind, like this is what the VCN community does. It's why we joined this Facebook group. It's how I'm friends with Dave and Spencer and Frank and everyone else. Like it's
Jeff,
been
yeah.
wonderful meeting everyone. And actually to then do the pitch, baseball jerseys are going up on Thursday, special pricing. So I already have my football jersey, which is in the other, or hockey jersey, which is in the other room. So yes, VCN May the 4th merch is what Dave is telling me to plug. So can we get a link in the chat for people to purchase? That would be super helpful. We've got the new baseball jerseys. Those are great. Obviously Thursday is our big extravaganza, May the 4th watch along of Siege of Mandalore with me and Ashley and Kat. That's going to be a lot of fun. And then there's going to be meetups happening throughout the year. So even though Celebration is over, maybe you join this group for Celebration and you're thinking like it's a one-off thing. I'll see you in Japan in 2 years. Girl, there's activity every day in the Facebook group, and there are going to be live meetups happening. Aside from the fact that I'll be at San Diego Comic-Con, and I'm sure other people will be, we'll organize something there. There will be a meetup happening in Boston, and
I will be in Artist Alley in Boston. So come by my table.
Fan Expo Boston.
Fan Expo Boston. Yeah.
When is that?
That is August 4th through the 6th. And so then, we got Rosario Dawson, Hayden Christensen will be there.
That'll be a good one.
Yeah, really excited.
And then Rhode Island Comic-Con in November. There'll be a meetup for that as well. That was a big one last year. We had a big meetup at Dave & Buster's, took a big family photo. That was a blast. I love that show. It's one of my favorites.
So much fun.
So many great Star Wars guests were there last year. I have not seen a guest list for this year yet, but it is 6 months out. So we still have some time.
Yeah.
I would say the next big event on the calendar truly is San Diego Comic-Con. So if anyone from the VCN family is going to be there, let me know. I'll be working the show, but we should plan something for sure.
And if you need booth help, ICC. I'm willing.
So Dave, believe me, I would love to smuggle in Ashley to help me at the booth. Dave is also saying that a lot of them are going to be at ICCC in late May. Obviously all of the Rebels crew is going to Nashville. It's crazy. Freddie, Tia, Vanessa, Taylor, and Steve, or
Mary Elizabeth.
Yeah, and Mary Elizabeth too. So you got, I mean, that's the crew. Other than Dave Filoni, there's no one missing from the Ghost right there. So like Steve Stanton would be great if he were going to, but I know he's not really doing cons at the moment. I wish I could go to that. I'm actually trying to figure out if I can make that work, but it's such an expensive trip, and I already have most of those autographs, but to get that group photo would be like, you know.
I know, that's why I want to go, but I can't. Like logistically, I need 4 new tires for my car, so that goes all the savings I had for that
literally
trip.
Thinking of driving, and it's like a 12-hour drive. But Dave is saying that I actually think we should probably set up like an event page or something. So yeah.
Oh, we ended on Facebook, but we're still on YouTube.
Oh,
it's over.
Okay. Yeah, no worries. We actually should be closing out right about now because we are at an hour and a half. But ladies, what a show!
Seriously, what a year! Like
what a year.
So much awesome Star Wars stuff, and we're so glad that you guys stuck it out to talk with us and go over all this madness. And I can honestly say that I'm optimistic for the years to come.
Yeah, I would agree. Lots of good stuff.
Yeah, it's going to be a fantastic 2023 into 2024 here at the VCN and in Star Wars in general. So this is May the 4th week. Join us on Thursday, actually May the 4th. And until then, may the 4th be with all of you guys.
Yay! Happy Star Wars month.
Happy Star Wars month. Bye.